It's Onorato Company, Chris Onorato, Ashley Miller, in a new year, 2023. And I'll tell you, it feels, Ash, like a new year. And I generally, you're like, same day, maybe a different month, but it feels like a new year. It feels like a big year.
Why is that?
I don't know. It just has a feel to me that New Year's Eve snuck up on us. We were out of town at
it
one
didn't
of the
feel like New Year's
college
Eve at
football
all.
games ever played. And I thought that too. This doesn't feel like New Year's Eve.
No.
Now that we're in it, I feel like this is a new year. It feels like it's a new year and a new beginning.
Okay, good. I'm glad you feel that way.
So let's start with what is going to happen in Week 18, which is a wild string of playoff scenarios in the NFL. And a lot of this, of course, hinges on what the NFL decides to do with the Bengals and Bills game. And we will get into what we saw Monday night with Damar Hamlin, of course. Again, we are doing this show live on a Thursday morning. So as you watch on TV over the weekend, Hamlin's status may have changed from how we discuss it here live on the show on a Thursday morning. We'll go through the playoff scenarios in both the AFC and the NFC. The Giants are locked in. We'll talk about who they would rather face as the 6th seed in the NFC. The College Football National Championship is here. It should be it'll be a high-scoring game. I don't know how close it'll be. It'll be a high-scoring game. We'll get into that as well. We have Heina Thompson from the Firewolves joining us as they return home for a game Saturday night against Halifax. We'll get into some college basketball. We'll get into some U.S. men's national soccer stuff that is just wild.
Drama.
You would have never thought of it. It's like they made it up. And, of course, we'll talk about a big signing in Major League Baseball as well. Let's get it going. Onorato Company.
This is Onorato Company, brought to you by Alpen House.
Our thanks to Alpen House each and every week, the presenting sponsor here of Onorato Company, Andy Heck and Katie Osborne, and the great team that they have at Alpen House in Amsterdam and Clifton Park. Love having them aboard each and every single week. Okay, Ash, before we get too deep into this, and we're going to spend the bulk of the show here, at least early on, in what we think is going to happen in Week 18 and the numerous playoff scenarios. But, of course, we are not going to ignore what happened Monday night, even though we are a few days removed from that, and Damar Hamlin. He's still in critical condition. University of Cincinnati Medical Center after suffering cardiac arrest Monday while he made a tackle against Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. I said it in the moment. I've never seen anything like this. People who have covered the NFL for a very long time, who played in the NFL for a very long time, said they've never seen anything like it either. I've been unfortunate. I'm not the person that suffered the injury, but to be watching live when players were paralyzed. Eric LeGrand is the last guy who comes to mind for me at Rutgers, but Dennis Byrd of the Jets certainly as well, and there are others. This was unlike anything else I'd ever seen on a football field, Ash. I mean, incredibly scary, and I said it this morning in a commercial break during the morning show as we continue to update Hamlin's status throughout the week. I hope doctors find some sort of pre-existing condition with this young man that can maybe be treated differently here. If it was just a one-off, that the impact of T. Higgins into Hamlin's chest as he's made the tackle was the reason for that. And it's possible that is the reason.
I think they would
that scares everybody in the NFL. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they would tell you it's probable that that's the reason. I mean, his family doesn't know of a pre-existing condition, I don't believe, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. But you've heard all the stories about kids getting hit with baseballs or people getting hit with lacrosse balls in the chest. It doesn't seem to me that it would be any different. So I think it's probably probable that was the cause of it. And I'm not sure, maybe you don't want a pre-existing condition, though, because there are things you can do to prevent that now. Like, there are lacrosse teams that mandate chest protectors underneath their pads. There are things that can be done to prevent kind of impacts like that. Maybe the padding gets adjusted in the NFL. There are things that can be done as opposed to like a pre-existing heart condition that could kill this kid on a whim. you're saying maybe just the hit set it off, I guess, right?
All right, I have lost your audio here, so that is an issue. What I'll do here is take a quick commercial break. I'm going to try to fix what we're dealing with here. And when we come back on Onorato and Company, we'll continue the conversation here about Damar Hamlin, and we'll get into those playoff scenarios, Week 18 of the NFL. Back right after this on O&Co.
Teams, athletes, organizations. We're transforming the custom apparel industry through products and purpose. Claim your crown.
The temperatures are dropping, which means the holidays are right around the corner. 'Tis the season at Alpenhaus Ski Shop, where you'll receive up to 50% off top ski and snowboard brands like K2, Vocal, Nordica, and LiveTech. And check out our selection of footwear from Muck and UGG, as well as casual and hiking apparel from Patagonia and the North Face. We also have the latest in winter fashion from Fly Low, Marmot, Obermeyer, and Helly Hansen. And an Alpenhaus gift card is the perfect gift for the adventure on your list. Alpenhaus in Amsterdam and Clifton Park.
And now back to Onorato and Company, brought to you by Alpenhaus.
Okay, back on O&Co. Ash, can I hear you?
Can you hear me now?
No, I cannot hear you. This is
God.
a major, major issue.
Problem. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to do roll call
And of
because
course,
I think
there's
everyone
no
else
good
can hear me.
explanation for
Hey,
it.
guys, can you hear me? Let's do some roll call. What's up, Jay? Good morning, Jay. Jay, can you hear me? Let us know if you can hear me, because apparently we're having some problems. Happy New Year to Keith. Oh, Jay can hear me. Jay can hear me. Good morning, Carol. Carol asks why our tree is still up. Carol, we love Christmas. We were gone in Arizona for 5-ish days. It's hard to admit this, but we've left our tree up until like February sometimes. So this tree is staying up at least for another couple weeks because we really enjoy it. Good morning, Tracy. Tracy, Happy New Year to you. We had a fantastic New Year. We'll talk about it a little bit, but Chris and I went to Arizona and we got to see the Michigan TCU game. It was our cousin's birthday. She's a TCU grad. So we went out to Arizona to see that game, and wow. Wow is all we can say. Wow is all we can say. It was unbelievable stuff. And we're super excited about the national championship game, which should also be good and high scoring. Hopefully Chris comes back and can hear me soon. Jay, yep, Jay can hear me. Janice can hear me. All right, perfect. I love it. We'll get back to the Damar Hamlin news a little bit, and just kind of the. Can you hear me?
I'm glad Janice can hear you. I still cannot hear you.
Oh, good. All right.
So hang on one second, Ash. Okay. I'll take Ashley out of the feed here for a moment. We'll bring her back in. I'm glad Janice can hear you, and Jason can hear you, and Carol can. You know what? This is like just kind of perfection, isn't it? Right? Like everybody else can hear Ashley. I can't. And there's absolutely no explanation why. My guess is even now that I brought her back, I can now hear you. We use a funky program, guys. Sometimes it's a little bit of a technical issue. Thank you for hanging with us here. Ashley ran through some comments.
I just did some roll call.
Great to have everybody with us here. Yeah, thank you for chiming in and for hanging out with us here on Onorato and Company. Okay.
Now, I explained to Carol why our tree is still up, because we love Christmas.
Because we enjoy it.
And we weren't home for, immediately following Christmas, so we're going to enjoy it for another few weeks. I did also admit that it's been up till February.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It might make it to the Super Bowl again. We'll see. So the Damar Hamlin,
so we kind of
Damar
cut
Hamlin
off
situation here in Cincinnati, again, still critical condition. We heard from his uncle through Syracuse.com, Bills reporter Matt Perino, that on Monday night, Hamlin was using a ventilator at 100%, was not breathing on his own at all. Then we heard middle of the week that it was down to 50%. Yep. There have been encouraging signs, and there continue to be encouraging signs for this 24-year-old. safety who is fighting for his life, critical condition. One thing we haven't talked about here, Ash, unless you talked about it and I couldn't hear you, is that Hamlin has a connection here to the UAlbany football program.
Yeah.
UAlbany played at Pitt in 2018. It was the season opener. Hamlin had an interception on the Great Danes opening drive near the Pitt goal line. UAlbany was moving the ball, and then Vincent Testaverde threw an interception that Hamlin returned 79 yards. And it was Saratoga Springs grad Griffin Clancy who eventually tracked him down and made the tackle. So there is a little bit of a connection here to Damar Hamlin. Certainly people in the area remember UAlbany playing that game, may not remember that exact situation of an interception by him. But never seen anything like it, we can say. Never seen anything like it. All we can do is hope that Damar Hamlin is able to recover fully. Now, I said I hope there's a pre-existing condition, doctors.
Yeah.
Fine.
So my answer to that was that I think it's probable that it wasn't a pre-existing condition. I think they would tell you it was the impact of the hit. We've seen it in baseball. We've seen it in lacrosse, in children, where it causes that. So that it's not, I don't want to say it's common because it's probably not common, but I don't think it's super rare. But I think, I don't know. I'm not sure if you're the family, if you want a pre-existing condition. I think you'd rather it be like a freak thing, because maybe this kid, if he's confident and comfortable enough, can go on to play an NFL career. You know what I mean? Like the chances of it happening again probably aren't very good. And I think there are adjustments, like in lacrosse leagues, there are many lacrosse leagues that require chest protection specifically for that reason. You can do it in baseball. There are ways to kind of keep that from happening or try to curtail that from happening. Yeah. Whereas like a pre-existing condition is going to maybe eliminate your athletic career entirely. So not that it's all about athletics, but I think for the health of the rest of his life, you kind of hope that it was a freak accident and it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, just crazy stuff. Okay, so what does the NFL do about this? Because at the end of the day, as crass as it may sound, the NFL is a business and it will go on with or without Damar Hamlin. So what does the NFL do here about this Bills-Bengals Monday night game? They still have not made a decision about whether or not to continue to play it. And look, nothing would be better for the NFL right now going into Week 18 than to have the Chiefs lose Saturday in Las Vegas. That solves all their problems.
Right.
Then Buffalo beats New England. We have our 1 seed. No big deal.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
That would make life easy on the NFL. And here are the top seed scenarios, and there's a lot to digest here. There are so many things up in the air going into this final week of the NFL season. We've had NFL years where there's nothing left to be decided. And that Week 18 is kind of boring. There's nothing boring about the Saturday and Sunday we will get here.
There's a lot going on here.
Right. So Kansas City clinches with a win and 1 Buffalo loss, either to the Patriots or in the resumption of the game at Cincinnati. Either one would work for Kansas City as long as they win at Las Vegas Saturday afternoon. Buffalo clinches with 2 wins. That's assuming they will even play 2 games, or a win at Cincinnati, again, assuming they resume that game, and a Kansas City loss, or just beat New England and get a couple losses and they automatically get it. It's not an easy road here for Buffalo, but we knew it wouldn't be even going into that Monday nighter. Cincinnati has to win 2 games, again, assuming they play 2, and get a Kansas City loss at Las Vegas. So,
right. A lot of this hinges on that game being played, though. And there's probably a pretty good chance that it's not.
And again, I don't think a decision will come until the NFL sees what happens this weekend. That's right. I mean,
whether or not you have to play it, whether or not it affects the outcome.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If Kansas City loses Saturday, the NFL can say, okay, we're not playing that game. If Kansas City wins, then you wait to see the result of the Bills game, because if they lose, then they're not going to get the 1 seed anyway. It's just there's a lot here to unpack. Yep. You want simple? Here it is. Titans and Jags. Winner gets the division, the AFC
Winner
South.
wins a bad division.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. But doesn't Jacksonville look like a good football team right now?
I think they look like a better football team. Yeah. Much about a good football team.
You know, like if Jacksonville hosts the Chargers in a playoff game,
maybe.
Decent chance to win that one. AFC North, simple 2. Cincinnati clinches with a win against the Ravens. Or if they have to go back and play Buffalo.
Or Buffalo. So
But
just need to win.
they can end it all on Sunday. It's a 1:00 kick.
Mhm.
The 7 seed, there's still a lot out there in the AFC here too.
Yeah.
New England, it's simple. Win, they're in. That game is at Buffalo. Not so easy. So if they lose, they need a little bit of help. They would then need Miami and Pittsburgh to lose as well. And Jacksonville to just win the division outright. That would save them a lot of stress
Right.
as well. So there are 4 teams in the hunt here for the 7 seed, but you can think about it in a lot of ways as 3 potentially for that final spot. That's a lot, Ash,
Yeah.
going into the
The last
final
week of the regular
game
season.
of the season. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
No, and
lot.
we've been in this scenario before, and I love the idea. I love when NBC gets to flex this game because it's so often. We had it last year. Was it last year with that crazy scenario with the Chargers and Raiders? Like we always end up getting an important game flexed into that Sunday night game. And it's just great because of course, otherwise the ratings are going to be terrible, number one, but no one cares, number two. So it's great that they can flex that into the Sunday night game. Something important with meaning we're going to get your Packers and the Lions, which also is important.
Yes, it's important. Potentially, we'll know by kickoff of that Sunday night game whether or not Detroit even needs to take the field, which creates some maybe competitive balance questions in terms of how the Lions handle a game that otherwise may not mean too much for them. We're going to get into the NFC side of things right after this on Onorato and Company. Again, other than the Giants locked into the 6th seed, there are a bunch of things up in the air in the NFC. Back right after this.
Teams, athletes, organizations. We're transforming the custom apparel industry through products and purpose. Claim your crown.
And now back to Onorato and Company. Brought to you by Alpenhouse.
So the 1 seed is still up in the air in the NFC. That means the 2 seed is still up in the air in the NFC. The 3 seed is undecided. The 4 is done. That's Tampa Bay. The 6 is done. That's the Giants. But the Cowboys sit in the 5 spot, and they could win the division. They could move. Okay. And then you have the 7 seed, which is very much undecided as well. Race for the top spot. Philly clinches with a win. Simple.
Yeah.
San Fran clinches with a win and a Philly loss. Simple enough, considering everything else we just went through with the AFC.
Oh, no doubt.
Dallas can win and then needs some help from both the
Yeah.
Eagles and the 49ers.
Makes
But
sense.
this is not overwhelming. There are 3 teams with a shot at the top seed. It feels like it'll be the Eagles. Why? Because the Giants have nothing to play for.
Yeah.
They've got the 6th seed. They know they have to play wild card weekend. Daniel Jones will not, and Saquon Barkley, they will not play this entire game. They'll play a little bit, but there's no way they're playing this entire game, especially Ash. And we'll get to this question in a second, the better matchup. But especially considering the fact that the Eagles have the best defensive line and pass rush in football, there's no way Brian Dable is letting Daniel Jones hang out for more than a half. My thought is it's a quarter at most.
Yeah, and this is where it becomes difficult. As I was making my picks, I kept talking out loud, and I'm like, do these guys have anything to play for? Nope. All right, do these guys? Yeah. So, that all weighs into how you think these games are going to go, because while the spread on the Giants-Eagles game was big, it's like, well, one has nothing to play for. The Eagles, technically, I get it. They want home field. But if Jalen Hurts is still hurt, you don't play him. Maybe that changes things as well. So
what do you do if you're the Eagles? If Hurts says, I'm 90%, I would if this is an important game, then I need to play.
If he doesn't say he's 100%, I don't play him.
Okay.
Until we get to the playoffs. If he's 90% in the playoffs, then yeah, you play him.
Who would you rather see if you're the Giants? Now, as the 6th seed, they're currently lined up to play at Minnesota. If the Niners somehow don't beat Arizona and the Vikings beat the Bears, then the Giants go to San Francisco. Who would you rather play?
The Vikings.
Yeah, right.
That's an easy answer for me, and maybe it blows up in my face, but the Niners in the playoffs are just a little bit of a different beast. And I know they don't have Trey Lance, they don't have Jimmy Garoppolo, but Brock Purdy has done just fine for them. Their defense is phenomenal. I'll take my chances with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, who, oh, by the way, had a difficult time. I mean, they got embarrassed by your Packers. Absolutely embarrassed. After Jair Alexander went out and ran his mouth, and we were like, oh, that's not a good idea. Well, and then he backed it up. So it's possible to lock those guys down. I've said it all year long. For some reason, I just have trouble getting not on the Vikings bandwagon, because that's not what I'm doing anyway, but like really believing that the Vikings are a top 3 or 4 team in this league.
Yeah, and here's another way to look at it too. If you're a Giants fan, because of the New York media market, there's no way they're playing this game Sunday 1:00. Now, as I say that, of course, the schedule it that way, but there's just no way the NFL or the network, you had CBS, Fox, and NBC, who are going to divvy this thing up. There's no way that the Giants and the New York media market land at 1:00 on Sunday, when you have 3 primetime opportunities. You got a Saturday night game, a Sunday night game, and a Monday night game, wild card weekend. So that Giants game is going to be in more of a prime slot. And you know where I'm getting with this. When Kirk Cousins doesn't play at 1:00, it's pretty ugly. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. I understand it's circumstantial. It isn't. There's something about this. When Cousins doesn't play at 1:00, it's ugly. And so
he has to sit around and wait all day, who knows what the reason is.
Yeah, whether it's 4:30 on Sunday, whether it's one of those night games, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday night, the Giants have kind of that already built-in psychological advantage, right? Whether Cousins believes it or not, he's heard enough about it that you start to somewhere in the back of your mind believe, maybe you start to wonder, why do I struggle in these spots? And that maybe affects the play. So I'm with you. It's Minnesota all the way. If you're a Giants fan, you'd rather take on the Vikings, who have won the NFC North, and the Niners, who,
I'll leave the Niners to your Packers.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I want Green Bay in, but I know where they'd have to go, and that has not worked well for Aaron Rodgers, whether he plays them at home or on the road against San Francisco. But wouldn't this be the year? Wouldn't this be the year? The year they doesn't, and there's no question, they don't belong in the playoffs. There's no question this is one of their least talent. They're not
talented, but yeah, they just haven't put it together.
Correct. Most disjointed season that I've seen in a long time. Wouldn't this be the year that they would find a way to go?
We've said this, like we said, you know what? You get in and you take your chance. Like, if that's the only option, in or not in, and your in is San Francisco, let's go.
Yeah. I will get no sleep next week. Packers Sunday night, College Football National Championship Monday night. We'll get to that in a moment. I will get no sleep next week. Okay. So here's the 7-seed scenario. Green Bay win and you're in. Doesn't matter what Seattle does earlier in the day, and you're playing Detroit. Win and you are in. Seattle clinches with a win. It's a 4:25 game on Sunday and a Green Bay loss. Detroit, this is where it gets interesting here. We'll hash this out very quickly. They need Seattle to lose at 4:25 in order for that night game at Green Bay to even matter for them. So I wonder, if you're the Lions and you know you've been eliminated before that game even kicks off, are you playing Jared Goff the entire game? Are you playing DeAndre Swift the entire game? Jamal Williams is going to be a free agent. He can go out and play the Amon-Ra St. Brown. Is he playing are you risking injury to some of your star players in a game that, I'm sorry, just doesn't matter?
Yeah, we've seen this before sometimes, and different teams, I think, would probably have different philosophies, but you can keep the Packers out of the playoffs, correct? With a win, despite.
Yes.
So like you can still affect the playoff picture. So by like mailing it in, you would basically be letting the Packers walk into the playoffs. There are so many teams out there who just don't want to do that, regardless of whether or not they can get in. So I think there's that. And if I don't know Dan Campbell, but if I have a feeling for Dan Campbell, it's going to be that they're going to try to keep the Packers out of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I'm playing it out just, tongue in cheek here. But remember, was it 2 years ago where Philly didn't play their guys and Washington won and it kept the Giants out? Doug Peterson got fired. Philly was already out.
Yeah.
They didn't play their guys.
Right.
Washington wins the game. That eliminates the Giants. That created such a stir around the league about competitive balance. And so I'm sure somebody got into Dan Campbell's ear from the league office and said, just so you guys are aware, even if you're eliminated before the game, we will be watching to see how you handle the situation. And Nick Matalone said it, building a winning culture. You talked about Dan Campbell's intensity. There's no way he's just going to mail one in. I know that. But if it weren't Campbell, if it weren't the Lions, who have had a really nice season, you'd kind of wonder.
Yeah.
If it were the Packers, they wouldn't be playing Aaron Rodgers.
No,
he's injured. He's banged up. Be Jordan Love. It'd be Jordan Love. So it's kind of interesting.
And that's fair.
Sam says should be rooting for Seattle to win. So nothing's on the line for Detroit. Yeah. Yeah, unless the wounded, nearly dead dog really scares you in Detroit, that like, hey, we've got nothing to play for. They start going for 2-point conversions. They start going on 4th downs from their own 30. You know what I mean? It could be a very you'd almost rather have the team that's tight and feeling the pressure to get into the playoffs. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know what it does.
Yeah, I think Detroit will end up playing either way.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot there in week 18. One last NFL note here. We've got our Pick Six Vodka Pick'em still to come here. Derek Carr is out in Las Vegas. There's no way he takes another snap.
I can't remember anything quite like this in a very long time.
Underachieving season as a team. He has struggled. What's interesting, though, is that Devontae Adams, he's the best receiver in football. And I know he doesn't have Tyreek Hill's speed and he doesn't have DK Metcalf's size. He's the best receiver in football. He leads the NFL in touchdown catches, 14 of them, on a team that has benched its quarterback and has said, please stay away. We don't want you near the facility anymore, okay? And he has a franchise record in receiving yards, a record that Tim Brown held. So
in his first year in Vegas.
A team that is struggling mightily, and he has churned out those types of numbers. He's the best receiver in football. So who replaces Carr in Vegas? Because we've heard the names Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady. Either one of those fit for you?
I feel less like it's going to be Brady. And to be honest with you, after this season, I know they're going to be a playoff team, but after what I've seen this season from Brady, do you want a soon-to-be 46-year-old quarterback? It's 46, right? Soon-to-be 46-year-old quarterback. Like it would be basically like what the Bucks did, and we're like, we're going to take a flyer. It's a 1-year thing. Let's see if we can win a Super Bowl with them. Yeah. But I just don't. That team's not good enough to win a Super Bowl, even with a good Tom Brady, let alone a bad Tom Brady.
Could it be Aaron Rodgers?
I'd take Rodgers over Brady.
Well, of course.
Well, you say that like most people.
I say, of course, like Rodgers is having some stellar year, and Brady is top 5 in passing yards in the league. That one's interesting to me. The issue is people say, oh, yeah, just trade him to Vegas and get picks. The salary cap hit is the issue with Rodgers' contract. To just trade him, it's such a massive hit to the salary cap. It just really doesn't make sense. And honestly, Ash, you know
Derek
this.
Carr has a big contract too, right? I mean, it's not Aaron Rodgers' money, but.
Yeah, and the guarantees are off it. I'm sure he's beyond. The other side of this is Green Bay doesn't know what they have in Jordan Love. You can't. But this is a situation to watch for sure. Sam says the Jets have to get Jimmy G. Jets presumably need a quarterback unless they're going to ride with Mike White. Sam says the problem is the coach too. Yeah. Okay. How about this one? Lamar Jackson. He's a free agent. Now, Baltimore, I mean, I know he's injured. And this isn't the first injury where he's missed multiple games in a season, but you have to assume they'll franchise tag him if they can't get a deal done. Wouldn't that be something if Lamar Jackson were traded somehow? But there are a few spots. There always are a few spots where there will be quarterback needs. And I wonder if like Seattle rides with Geno Smith, despite the success they've had this year. Do they look for a more of a long-term answer?
I mean, Jimmy G's going somewhere, right?
He has to.
Nobody
San Francisco,
wanted him,
please.
but then he went in and played Mr. We've talked about this before. He was big team guy, great teammate, went in and succeeded at a very high level and has them in the position that they are currently in. And now they're leaning on a rookie in Brock Purdy, who maybe he's the franchise quarterback. Maybe it's not Trey Lance, but I'm sure they're going to give it back to Trey Lance. Jimmy G's got it. Somebody has to want Jimmy G. You have to take a chance on that guy.
Amanda says Washington. They need a quarterback. Carolina
Unless
needs.
Sam Howell is the answer.
Yeah, maybe Carolina needs a quarterback.
Yep.
Tampa may be in need of a quarterback. What's Miami's situation with Tua and the concussion history there?
Yeah.
Boy, it's always a wild time to be an
I love
NFL
it.
fan, isn't it?
I
mean, we've got the playoffs around the corner, and we're already talking about who's playing quarterback for what team next season. All right, the Pick Six Vodka NFL Pick'em still to come. The Red Sox give out the biggest contract ever to a third baseman. Why did they choose Rafael Devers over Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts? That's next on Onorato Company.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on for cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair. You can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
You've heard of unsung heroes. The men and women of Naiskoba are the unseen heroes. For the past year, you've learned about our many charitable endeavors. Now it is my privilege to share with you the work performed by our members, the 20,000 state correction and law enforcement officers shielded from view. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions and are an extension of the police who protect our neighborhoods. Naiskoba honors New York's police and firefighters and salutes its own members who help deliver a peaceful night's sleep.
And now back to Onorato Company. Brought to you by Alpenhouse.
Ash, Georgetown basketball has set a very dubious record. We'll talk about Patrick Ewing's standing at his alma mater as the head coach, as the Hoyas have lost now 25 straight Big East games. Is Ewing done at his alma mater? We'll get into that.
This is why we always say it's so hard to hire somebody that is like a legend at the school, because ultimately this is what can happen, and a lot of times does happen.
Usually happens, yeah. We got the Performance Industrial Dirty Difficult done, still to come on the show as well. Red Sox gave Rafael Devers 11 years, $331 million.
The money is crazy.
He's 26 years old. He has averaged 32 home runs and 100 RBIs over the last 2 seasons. He's a stud, absolute stud.
100%.
In 2019, he led all of baseball in total bases. So the dude's OPS is through the roof with home runs, doubles especially. Why it had to be done. I'm not going to ask you why they do it, because they had to. They
need someone to be the cornerstone of that franchise. And
I think Devers is a good guy to be that person.
No doubt.
And I would take him over Bogaerts. But why did the Red Sox not see the value see this value in Mookie Betts?
I have no idea. Because of any of those three who you mentioned, Betts, Bogaerts, and Devers, I'm giving all the money to Mookie Betts. He is arguably a top 3 player in this league. To me, it's just so smooth. He's a fantastic outfielder. I always say he's basically like a hit every time he gets up. It feels like he can run the bases. He can do it all. That guy, for pound, is the best player in Major League Baseball. But yeah, I love that guy. And Bogaerts, I'm good letting him walk. They have Story, obviously, who could play multiple positions. But now they're out of options. Like, they've now let Betts go. They've let Bogaerts go.
Yep.
What else can you do? You have to have someone who's going to be your guy. So they had to throw the money at Rafael Devers because they need somebody to play who is an all-star, a stud. He's the only guy you got left.
And
JD Martinez left. Like, you're...
Yeah, and Devers knew it. Devers' agent knew it. They knew.
Right,
the Red Sox. had painted themselves into the corner because they said publicly our top priority is keeping Rafael Devers. And I don't dislike when a team says that, something nice about one of their players, but they had created this situation where Devers knew I'm in for because whatever I ask for, they
all
almost
the power
give it to me. Right. So $33 million a year to Rafael Devers, signed through the 2033 season. So in an off season of $300+ million contracts, here is another, making it a handful or so of those.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of this is, and somebody else, maybe I saw a tweet about it, is like, at least this gives you the ability to build around him. Like, maybe it's not this year, but he's obviously on a long-term contract. If you can go get somebody next year or the year after and start to build that team back up, because they were getting old in terms of like a guy like JD Martinez. Trevor Story's not super young. They were getting a little bit on the older side. Well, now maybe this helps kind of invigorate the youth movement or encourages them to sign big money guys later on. But they're probably not going to be very good next year.
Yeah, they're still last place in that division, aren't they?
Yes. Well, not Baltimore. I mean.
Okay. Baltimore's on the rise.
Yeah, I know they're on the rise, but I still don't imagine that they'll be better than the Red Sox.
Okay, here we go.
And now your weekly NFL Pick'em, presented by Pick Six Vodka.
Holly and Serge and Siobhan and the great team at Saratoga Courage Distillery with us each and every single week here on Onorato Company, even outside of the NFL season, but they bring you the Pick Six Vodka Pick'em each and every single week. Ash, how are we doing?
Well, we had the same exact picks last week, so we knew we'd both be either good, bad, or whatever, but we knew we'd be the same, and we were both bad.
Yeah, again, only 5 games. We did have the Monday nighter between Cincinnati and Buffalo on the sheet. Obviously, that wasn't completed. So 5 out of the 6 here. There was a time, and not that long ago, that I was over 500 for the season, which will tell you how my last month or so has gone. Not pretty. So 1 game separates us going into the final week of the Pick Six Vodka Pick'em. Week 18, Ash, you have a 1-game lead on me, 48-53, as we go into this final week. All right, our first game is a Saturday nighter. I'm excited for this game. I know Tennessee is not great, and I know they're
starting Dobbs,
third quarterback of the season. I get it. But anytime you give me a game that is winner take all, I don't care how bad the two teams are.
No, me neither.
0-16 to this point, and I would watch it, and I'd watch it intently. So I plan to do exactly that Saturday night. Titans, Jags, Jacksonville, nearly a touchdown favorite at home. They're playing good football. Who saw this coming? Neil Ostano. He said he told me he put $2 on the Jaguars to win the division over the summer. I don't know what the heck it'll pay, but the $2 will turn into
at least should have put 10.
I know he said they should put 20. Well, of course, in hindsight, yes. But who thought this was coming?
I don't know, but $2.
We both like Jacksonville.
I'm going to get on him for that. Yeah, Jacksonville. With it's not Ryan Tannehill. It's the Jags who are, we talked about it, a much better team. I still like the Jags by a touchdown.
Yeah, and it's fun to see Trevor Lawrence grow. He's playing really well.
In Jacksonville, one of the first meaningful games since, I was going to say Mark Brunell. I know they played at least a couple.
With Bortles.
Yeah, with Blake Bortles,
Yep, that's true. Patriots, Bills here. Buffalo needs it. That's kind of what we know here. New England needs it. So again, here's another gotta have it kind of game. And we both like Buffalo, and that's more than a touchdown we're going to give New England, huh?
Yeah, for me, the numbers have been huge on Buffalo all season long. This one wasn't so huge that I shied away from it. I figured, 8 points is you can get a touchdown and 2-point conversion or touchdown and field goal. So yeah, for me, they should play inspired football. Both teams should be very good, but they've got a reason to go out there and win, to win for Damar. So for me, it's the Bills.
Yes. No matter what changed? Well, I mean, unless something changes dramatically for the worse with Damar Hamlin ahead of this game, that will be difficult for the Bills players to handle. However, if it stays status quo or it improves, look the heck out for Buffalo in this game and the game after that and the game after that and the game after, like if you have a sports bet, I mean, throw a little on Buffalo to win the Super Bowl right now, because so many times a team, or they're like plus 420, I think I saw this morning. So many times a team finds inspiration through tragedy. And I feel that coming Sunday with the Bills against the Patriots. And I feel it coming beyond that for this Bills team.
Especially in Buffalo, it's going to be, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It's going to be unbelievable.
The pregame stuff.
Yep.
I'm sure the chanting during the game throughout the stadium.
Listen, Buffalo's had a hard go of it. Like we talked about it. A storm killed 40 plus people. Yes, the blizzard, it hasn't been sunshine and rainbows in Buffalo for a very long time, for 4 to 6 weeks. So it's been a tough go of it, but this is the perfect city for a fan base to rally. It couldn't have happened, not to a better city in terms of but a city that is just kind of built for this. The city of neighbors is built to rally around teams, to rally around people. They're good people. I'm feeling it. It again gives me chills.
Is that the city's nickname? The City of Neighbors?
I believe it's the City of Neighbors or City of Good Neighbors.
Wow.
I forget which. That's at least what people have been saying in the news, so I assume it's like a real thing. I don't know.
I love that. Okay. And how much money to Damar Hamlin's charity?
Not over 6.
But all over, I mean, almost $7 million.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay.
And a lot of that is from the outside too.
Yep.
Generally, it's inspired by Buffalo fans, and that's what started it, but everybody's jumped on, which is really cool.
Jets are done. We know that. Dolphins are not. At 8-8, they have a chance to still get into the postseason as the 7th seed in the AFC. It'll be Teddy. And
I don't think it's going to be Teddy, actually.
Tua back.
No, I don't. I think it's signed Mike Glennon, but Tua has a dislocated pinky or something. So I'm not
Teddy
sure. Teddy does.
Yep.
So I'm not sure it's going to be Teddy, but either way, the Dolphins have something to play for. The Jets do not. Whoever plays at quarterback for either team, I'm going to go with the team that has something to play for.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson finished up the game on Sunday when Bridgewater left with the injury. Okay, we're both taking and this number has moved to the Jets side. It's like a point now.
Yep.
We had it even when we had these graphics made by our incredibly talented guy, John Conlon. We'll leave it even here. And honestly, that's a more of a handicap to us to leave it at even while we're taking Miami when they may.
The Giants have nothing to play for.
But
the number's too big. No Jalen Hurts, the number's too big.
Too big. I'm with you. I will take the Giants with backups to keep it within 2 touchdowns. Like, come on, guys. You're still a playoff team. You don't – also, if I'm the coach, if I'm Brian, I don't want to get my tail licked going into the postseason. Like, that is not the tone I want in my building.
I always say that's like a really bad feeling, and it just gives people a really bad vibe. It's not a good place to be.
Yeah, and I don't care if it's the backups or not. Like, the guys on my 53-man roster need to be good enough to keep this thing within a couple of touchdowns against a division rival. The Cowboys have some things to play for here, and yet they don't. And they will play at the same time as the Giants and Eagles, so there will be nothing predetermined for Dallas before kickoff here. But if the Cowboys said, we're not going to play Dak and Zeke and Pollard and Parsons for the entire game, if it's, hey, we'll play it for a half and see where we are at halftime and decide from there, that won't shock me. But I still think Dallas here, who the heck's playing quarterback for Washington? Give me the Cowboys.
Yeah,
I know.
Sam Howell.
I know.
So, yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys too. It's less than a touchdown. I'm taking the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They have things to play for, but they don't have to play for. You know what I mean? Like, they're in no matter what, but if they want to play for the division, it's kind of a weird – my guess is all those guys play.
Howell, talented guy from North Carolina, been inactive all year.
Going to get his first crack.
Go get him, kid. All right. Sunday nighter. We always pick the Sunday night game. So we've had the same pick each game up until this point. I can't. I can't. I mean, people, I know, but I can't. Even if I don't believe it with all of my heart, I cannot go against my Packers here Sunday night with a chance to go to the playoffs. I just can't do it.
I don't blame you. And to be totally honest, Chris, until now, has never replied all to the email where he sends in his picks. Well, guess what? He did. So when I was making my picks, our picks were going to be exactly the same. And I knew that. And I said, I'm not making the same picks as you because then I knew I would win the regular season. If we went in with the same picks, I would win the regular season. We're not doing it that way. I'm going to pick the Lions just so we can be different and I can win it outright fair and square or lose it. And then we end up tied. Whatever.
But some people would have said that would have been good strategy on your part to play it right down the middle, the same picks. That way you can't lose.
I know, but it's not – I don't like it. That feels dirty.
It's like fouling when you're up
unfair.
3 with, a few seconds left.
Yeah, it feels unfair. So I don't want the Lions to win. I said I hope the Packers kick a game-winning field goal so that I still win here. But either way, I'm happy to lose. It's fine. But I wanted to win fairly. I didn't want it to be a weird thing.
Yeah, okay. I can respect that. All right, so here we go. Every single game except the last one. So we will certainly, in terms of our season standings, have a close eye on that Sunday nighter. I will be watching intently, rooting for Green Bay Sunday night against the Detroit Lions. Here is a quick recap, Ash, of how our guests did this season. We've got Heina Thompson ready to go from the Albany Firewolves. He's coming up very shortly. This is, again, alternating local nonprofits who we hope to benefit at the end of the year, as well as our local business partners on the show. Underwhelming first board here, 4-2. The group from High Five Sports, Jody and Chris.
We take 4-2 every day, Chris.
Putting that number up. That is very true. But then Pick Six Vodka, the team from Pick Six, had a perfect week at 6-0. And then slide to the bottom of the board, and you find our winner of our local nonprofits, John Sumter from Creative Connections Clubhouse in Amsterdam. He was 5-0.
Even without that 6th game, he still wrapped it up as the winning nonprofit.
Yep. 5-0. And he had the Bills. And he had the Bills Monday night. He could have had a perfect week. As you said, either way, 5-1 would have been good enough for him to take it home. So congrats to John Sumter, Creative Clubhouse Connections
getting
Clubhouse
it done.
In Amsterdam, our winner this season from the local nonprofit group. All right, the Albany Firewolves are hoping to get a victory on Saturday night back home and taking on Halifax. We're going to talk with Heina Thompson coming up right after this on Onorato and Company. Hang out, everybody. Back in 30 seconds.
The Albany Firewolves professional indoor lacrosse team invites you to join us on Saturday, January 7th for our Military Appreciation Night. Come witness our epic showdown against the Halifax Thunderbirds at 7 p.m. at the MVP Arena in Albany. Get your tickets now at albanyfirewolves.com. Join the pack.
And now back to Onorato and Company. Brought to you by Alpenhaus.
Okay, Ash, you'll be back on the sidelines for this game Saturday night against Halifax, the Albany Firewolves at 1-1. And this is a segment we love doing each and every single week here on Onorato and Company. We call it Follow the Pack with the Albany Firewolves, as we're now just a few games into this National Lacrosse League season. And our guest here on Onorato and Company is Heina Thompson from the Firewolves. Heina, man, it's good to see you. It's Chris and Ashley. How are you, buddy?
Thanks. Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here.
How are the holidays, Heina? I know this is such a weird time because you guys, there were very few games over the holidays. You guys were not one of them. You basically just work out on your own for 2 weeks and then dive back into it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a little tough having we had a tough beginning of the schedule. We're game on, bye weekend, game on, and then we got 2 weeks off, and we just got to stay ready, stay prepared for our next game this coming up weekend.
All right, I was going to ask you about your golf game, but I'm going to ask you instead about how you stay locked in, because clearly you, like Ashley and I have talked about it, but you've noticed it, that it's a little inconsistent and maybe even disruptive the way the schedule has played out early on for you guys. Is that something you've talked about as a team? Has Coach Clark brought that up? Like, hey, guys, we still need to find a way to be focused and locked in here? Or is that something personally you've just been aware of and you know my emphasis needs to be on staying in this thing?
A little bit of both. It's been brought up by the coaching staff and everyone. It's tough making a schedule during the holiday season, but it's just us as professionals just wanting and having to stay ready. We got 2 weeks off and we got a big game coming up, so I took it personally, and I did some conditioning, did a lot of running, so should be exciting. I'll be ready to go.
Honey, you got a big game. The Halifax, I think, is one of the surprises of the season. You see it here live Saturday. That will be on My 4 as well as ESPN Plus, so you can catch it on our sister station. But this is a Thunderbirds team that I think has surprised a few people coming out. They've added a guy like Ryan Benesh, who played in Albany last year. They've added a guy like Randy Stotts, who hadn't played in 1,000 games. And their offense looks a lot different. This is a team in the first 2 games that averaged like 19 goals a game. What is the matchup like for you guys? This is obviously you guys all kind of play against one another or with one another through the years. What is this team going to kind of present for you guys, the challenges?
Yeah, they're very good. They're a very good team. Offensively, defensively, they've come a long way. They brought a lot of guys over, core from Rochester, where they came from. But they always had a lot of guys that have played together for a long time, and then they bring guys in like that, Ryan Benesh, Randy Stats. So they're very good. I trust our defense. Our defense has been playing really good, keeping some teams down to some low scoring. But we do got to find a way to come out of halftime. We've struggled a little bit with that, but we got some game plans ready to go. So hopefully we come out firing out of that halftime.
You've played in Buffalo, Hannah. You've played in Georgia. You're now first season in Albany. This is an area that certainly you know well, but it also knows your brothers very well. You're from not far from here, Onondaga Nation. I want to ask you about the golf game, though, man, because I saw that you have this great foundation, which I've read about, the nonprofit called For the Future Foundation, and you guys have golf tournaments to raise money. And I say you guys, your brothers, Lyle, Miles, and Jeremy. You have lacrosse clinics and camps to raise money as well to help with the youth in terms of their active lifestyles and pursuing a healthy environment. How's the golf game? And then we'll talk about the foundation.
I'm missing it right now. We got some snow up here. I'm up in right on the border of Canada, so I don't get to golf all year round. But golf game's strong. Getting into my low handicap, so
nice.
You got to take advantage, Heina. There's some places in Albany. You've got it's called the Bunker. It's some indoor simulated golf stuff. It's good stuff. We should, you got to check it out next time you're down here I know you don't stay very long, extended time. You can work on your golf game in the winter.
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan of simulators, but I might have to check them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Cool.
But our foundation, we did our second annual golf tournament this past summer in Syracuse. But yeah, we're using it to help raise money to help these underserved communities where get sticks in kids' hands and get them playing this beautiful game that I've grown up loving my whole life. So that's the whole goal of the foundation, and so far so good.
It is forthefuturefoundation.org. You've brought out some heavy hitters in the past. Nota Begay, an NBC analyst now, but a great PGA player in his day as well. So congrats to all you guys, what you guys have done so far with this foundation. My first job was in Watertown, New York, Heina, so I have a general idea of where you may be. As you say, you're located along the Canadian border, the Akwesasne Nation, Messina, New York. If you're in that area, I know it well for sure. Again, the game is Saturday night, guys, 7 o'clock. Go to MVP Arena. If you can't, watch it on My 4 or ESPN Plus. Heina Thompson, man, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anna.
Great to have Heine with us here, Ash, and good luck
Big
to him
game.
the rest of the way here on this season. Yeah,
He's had a great start too. 4 goals in 2 games. So
he's like his brothers, and I hate to say that because he probably hates hearing it. They're point machines. I mean, they are point machines.
Lacrosse savants.
His production in Georgia and Buffalo and in the playoffs, especially, he's reading about his playoff production. I mean, it's through the get these guys on the field. They find a way to have a great impact on the game offensively. We can't let this one go by before we say goodbye. So we won't.
We got to do our triple D too.
And we're going to college football national championship. It's TCU, it's Georgia Bulldogs. This number is shrinking. It opened at 14.5. It's now 12.5 for Georgia. Who you taking?
You got it at 13.5, right?
Well,
I'm taking TCU to cover.
Okay. I've got TCU outright.
Woo! I've got TCU to cover. I'm not so sure they'll win, but I didn't think they would win against Michigan, and we saw an unbelievable game. I'm going to be cheering for the Frogs.
I should be clear. I'll be cheering for TCU as well. My wallet has TCU outright. My mind has Georgia. And I think maybe bigger than this number you're looking at on the screen. Either way, it should go over. That I feel pretty confident about is that if you want an angle here, it should go over.
And now, dirty, difficult, and done. Presented by Performance Industrial.
Bill Miller, his incredible team at Performance Industrial, bringing us this segment each and every week. And Ash, you're right in line with it here.
Yeah, listen, I'm not sure that this is kind of going out on a limb, or maybe it is, and I'm going to look like a total idiot in a year or two. But my dirty difficult done is that Alabama's reign is done in college football. This is a team that's won 5 of the last 11 national championships, 3 of the 8 college football playoffs since it's been in existence. And maybe it's even dumber because, oh, by the way, Alabama has the #1 recruiting class in college football next year. So maybe that doesn't sound so good on my part, but college football, the parity is on the rise. We've seen, this program from TCU has had a total turnaround in 1 season. Teams like Tennessee, teams like USC, these are teams that have totally flipped their programs in a very short period of time, and the parity is just so good. And oh, by the way, Georgia could win back-to-back national championships, and they've got like the 2nd best recruiting class in the country. So I just think that there are so many teams on the rise. Maybe they win another in a few years, but there are going to be a lot of different national champs coming up here, I think, in the next 5.
All right, bad planning on my part because I don't have enough time to unpack everything we're going to talk about here. But Greg Berhalter has been in the news because Danielle Reyna, who is the wife of former U.S. captain Claudio Reyna and mother of Gio Reyna, threw Berhalter under the bus because she didn't like the way he talked about her son. And Berhalter admitted to kicking his wife, this is forever ago, when they were 18 years old. They are now married 25 years later, kicking his wife in the legs after a fight at a bar where they had a little too much to drink, is what Berhalter said. Danielle didn't like the way Greg talked about her son, Gio, even though he never mentioned Gio by name. And it has admitted that she took this information about Berhalter to the soccer committee because she didn't like what he had to say about her son. It is an absolute mess. You cannot be the mom of a professional athlete standing up for your kid this way. You just can't.